So, starting the list off of knives that you don't have in your collection, but could, we have the Wii Morata. I know you don't have this in your collection because it is a limited knife. I can't see the number, but we have 125 out of 200 here. So there's only 200 of each version. There is multiple different versions, but they're still available. So I know there's a likely chance that you don't have one of these. So it is an awesome knife. 20 CV, on my version, it's the flamed titanium that looks really cool. Now, like I said, there is different versions, really cool versions as well. Now, the action is super good. This thing rockets out. We have a hand satin finish on this somewhat Persianed blade, or you can call it a trailing point. It does clip down a little bit right there. It's probably hard to pick up, so that's gonna actually straighten it a little bit, and it actually makes it kind of good for EDC. This is definitely not a bad blade shape for EDC, and it probably could be used a little bit for like a self-defense knife. Awesome backspacer that does blend in with the flamed ano. And yeah, it's just a really, really cool piece that's actually still available. Now, the next one is the TWOSUN TS. I think this is the 194, I believe, or something like that. I think it's the 194. I'll put it on the screen if I'm wrong. Yeah, the 194. So the TS 194, you know, I haven't seen a lot of them around. I've seen a few people that had them. You know, I'm not saying it's the best knife in the world or anything like that, but it is a cool way, or an affordable way, I should say, to get a titanium handled knife. It does have a steel liner lock, but the scales, the clip, and backspacer are all titanium. And then the reason, or the way they brought the price down, or keep the price down, is it's D2 steel. It is a nice stonewash finish on the D2, and it has a fuller for the reverse flick and a flipper tab. And you have a forward finger choil that you can choke up to right behind the edge, really nice. And this straight clip point, you know, does work really good for EDC because it's a straight clip point. It is fairly ergonomic. The clip is a little bit tight, but it works okay. And you know, and the design on the clip is on the scales as well. They put these speed holes on there. I don't personally like the pivot, but the knife itself is really cool. I just feel like TWOSUN puts out so many knives that the likely chance of you having this one is probably, unless if you're a TWOSUN collector, so in that case you might have this one. But let's get to the next one. The next one is the Wii Magnetron. Now, this is another one that, well, personally for me, I really, really like this one. I think they did a killer job on this. You know, it almost like when I deploy it, almost sounds like glass. It's hard to hear if you're not here in the room with me, but the way the blade hits the stop pin, it sounds really nice. Then it has this beautiful hand satin finish. There's multiple different versions of this. This one has the gorgeous micro milling that's actually fairly deep, so you can actually feel it in the touch with your hands. Then it has a milled titanium pocket clip and backspacer, hidden lanyard tube back there. The access to the lock bar is phenomenal. This one just feels very, very premium to me, and in the hand, it's hand melting. It is a clip point blade, but this is a great clip point blade. You can get them nice and tight to that edge for cutting purposes. The tip is not too hard to get to, which I do appreciate about any clip point. I'm not into the ones that are very difficult to use, but man, oh man, this thing, it's an awesome knife for sure. And like I said, there's multiple different versions of this one. Next is the Serge Panchico Tricep. Now the Tricep is using M390 steel, titanium frame lock, and then it's got a polished and flamed ano titanium overlay, kind of like we were looking at earlier on this one, but this one wasn't polished first, so they just took the blasted finish and then did it. With this one, they polished it and did it, so man, it looks so good. Doesn't that look nice? And this is going to hold up really well because of the polished. Good access, fantastic access to the lock bar. You can see the sharpening tool and plunge grind, amazing. And we have front flipping action. Now the front flipper's not the easiest one to deploy. It's not as easy as the reverse flick and thumb flick, but it's still pretty easy. You know, it's got a nice stout detent, so when you break the detent, it's gonna fly. It's a heavy blade. You can see how heavy that blade is. It just pretty much drops. It does have a milled titanium pocket clip that works great, by the way. Works really, really good. And ergonomically, you know, I know it kind of looks boxy, but this shape actually fits like your palm. See how like you have meat around the hand right there? It kind of just snugs right into these positions, and it's very, very comfortable. It's definitely has a unique look, so, you know, it might not be for everybody, but if you like the look of it, man, it is very, very well done. The next one is the Wii Riffraff. Now, this one's a small compact knife, and this one's hasn't been out very long. It's only been out since Blade Show 2023 Atlanta, so I just don't expect many people to have it already, but I will say it's really good. If you like CK Knives design, which you can totally see that's what it is, it has a straight clip point blade, very pokey tip. The size is I mean, pretty much perfect for my hand. As far as like a small compact knife goes, like it's not uncomfortable, it's very comfortable. I could squeeze this, you know, fairly well long term, you know, but it is still a compact knife. So that's what's kind of cool about it. And the thumb studs work great. 20 CV steel, titanium scales, and, you know, Wii Knife Co. with some models, just they feel like they do a little bit of extra. Maybe it's just that they went through prototype phases and things were changed or manipulated, and this one definitely feels like, you know, it's got a lot going for it. You know, just the way it feels in the hand, the way the action is, the clickiness of the lockup, the detent, all those things. I definitely appreciate how well it's done. The backspacer looks cool. It is somewhat unique, and it's a way to get CK knives without buying the custom or spending, you know, the money on the custom. Now the next one is from BYOND EDC. I do not remember the name of it. I will put it up on the screen, but this is one I just never see really anywhere except for like on their page, and these are available. You can get them. It has two forms of deployment. You have the fuller that works really good. Not the best thumb flicker though, so it's going to be only for reverse flicking, but you can do it left-handed as well. And then it has the flipper. Decent access to the lock bar. Micarta scales on this version, deep carry inset clip with flat screws, and the blade steel is VG10 steel. And it's almost a straight back, but it's a drop point. It is definitely one that's comfortable in the hand. It'll work really good. It's somewhat of an affordable knife to some extent, but I don't know. I don't know why people don't really, I think the clip is out of place. I think they could have put a better clip on it. I just think the clip makes it look very cheap, even though it is, you know, somewhat of an affordable knife. It's still really cool. They did a good job on it, good action. I don't like the sharpening tool and plunge grind, and I don't like to use T6s back here, but, you know, it's still a solid piece. The SENCUT BRONTE. You know, this one, I can't confirm if you guys have in your collection or not, but I just don't feel like you guys do. Because, well, one, I personally kind of went under my radar for a little bit, even after I had it, but then I wound up pulling it back out, and I was like, holy cow, this thing is so fidgety. Now, you either like these Dow style blade shapes or not, but I will say this one is so useful. It's kind of like just like having a Warncliffe or a really acute sheep's foot. Very pokey tip. Look at how thin that is. This thing is needle-like. So precision cutting. Then you have a very neutral handle that's going to make it to where it's going to fit and be comfortable in anybody's hand. You can slice with it. You can turn it around and cut straps with it, pinch grips, utility cuts. It is very wieldable. Then the fidget factor is insane. Like, it is super duper fidgety because the detent is somewhat on the lighter side, which if I wanted it stronger, I could totally strengthen the lock bar, but I don't want it stronger because it's perfect in my opinion. Especially having a front flipper, which the front flipper is well jimped, perfect jimping. The blade steel's 9CR 18 MOV, deep carry clip that is reversible, lots of milling on the inside. There is different versions. This one's the wood version, and I gotta say, super duper lightweight. Internal stop pins for the closing and the opening. So this is a super duper lightweight knife that's very fidgety, very fun, but extremely, extremely useful. And when you get it in hand and you actually use it, you realize like, man, like there's so many knives that are not gonna cut or work as good as this one does. And then the Off-Grid Knives Viper V2, 154 cm on this sheep's foot tanto, somewhat of a spearish point on top of a tactical-ish knife. It's definitely a cool blade shape. It's gonna be very, very pokey and robust at the same time. So this is a blade that can poke really good, but you're not really gonna have to worry about the tip chipping or anything. It's relatively tough. You got the secondary tip that you can use or the primary tip, which actually works really good because the tip lines up with the center of the pivot. So this is actually a very functional knife here. Then the ergonomics around the handle, very, very comfortable. It is a G10 handle with steel liners. Decent access to the lock bar, very smooth on the drop, great detent, comes in a few different colors, and then the clip is a deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws and reversible, and then it comes with the replacement plate for the side you don't have the clip on. So it's a really cool knife. It's definitely, like I said, tactical-ish. That's what Off-Grid Knives does, which, you know, I can always appreciate. Now, it is a liner lock, so I'm not telling you to be hard using it or anything, but it's definitely a really cool knife. And I love the top of the spine right here, the way they did this jimping. It's actually pretty cool, and it definitely works. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.